Chapter 1. The Cradle of Civilization. Long ago, before cities rose and empires spread, there was a land of rivers, valleys, and fertile soil. This land was Syria. It lay between two mighty rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates. This region, known as the Fertile Crescent, was where life as we know it began. Thousands of years ago, people roamed these lands as hunters and gatherers. They moved with the seasons, following herds of animals and searching for plants to eat. Life was tough. Each day was a fight for survival. But slowly, something extraordinary happened. People discovered they could grow their own food. They learned to plant seeds in the soil and wait for them to grow into wheat and barley. This changed everything. No longer did they need to roam endlessly. They could settle down. Villages began to appear, with small mud brick houses built close to fields of golden crops. Families worked together, tilling the soil and harvesting grain. It was the dawn of agriculture. It was the beginning of civilization. Imagine those early days. A man rises with the sun, ready to work the land. His hands are rough, his face lined with the sun's touch. His wife grinds grain into flour, singing softly to their baby. Around them, life hums. Chickens cluck, children laugh, and neighbors chat as they build a wall to protect their village. Hope fills the air. Life feels full of possibility. One of these villages, called Ebla, became something much greater over time. Ebla grew into a city, a bustling center of trade and culture. Imagine it. Merchants carrying goods on their backs, donkeys braying as they pull carts, and scribes hunched over clay tablets, writing in cuneiform, one of the world's first forms of writing. Ebla was alive with activity. It wasn't just a place to live, it was a place to dream. But with growth came challenges. Crops needed water, and the rivers didn't always flow nearby. The people of Syria became creative. They built canals to carry water to their fields. This was hard work, and sometimes the canals broke. But they didn't give up. They kept trying year after year. Their determination paid off. Their fields flourished. Their cities grew stronger. Among the crops and villages, there were temples. The people believed in many gods, gods of the sun, rain, and harvest. They built temples to honor these gods. These temples were tall and magnificent. Imagine standing in front of one for the first time. The sun gleaming off its walls, its steps leading high into the sky. People would gather at these temples to pray, to thank the gods for their blessings, and to ask for help when times were hard. Life wasn't easy, though. Nature could be cruel. Sometimes the rivers flooded and destroyed everything. Other times, droughts came, leaving the fields dry and cracked. Families watched their crops wither. They looked to the sky, praying for rain. When the rains finally came, the relief was overwhelming. The earth came alive again, and so did the people's spirits. Syria's position in the Fertile Crescent also meant that it was a crossroads. Many different groups of people passed through. Some stayed, bringing new ideas and skills. Others moved on, carrying Syrian culture with them. This mixing of cultures enriched the land. It gave Syria its unique identity, one that still shines today. In these early days, people weren't just farmers and builders. They were storytellers too. Around fires at night, they shared tales of gods and heroes. They spoke of the stars, wondering what lay beyond them. Their stories were filled with wonder, hope, and sometimes fear. These stories helped them make sense of the world. They connected people and gave them strength. Ebla wasn't the only great city of ancient Syria. Over time, other cities rose, each with its own character and importance. These cities became the heart of a network of trade and communication. From here, goods and ideas spread far and wide. Syria became a land of connection, bringing people together across vast distances. Picture a caravan arriving in one of these cities. Dust rises as camels kneel, their heavy loads unloaded by tired traders. Spices, metals, and colorful fabrics are traded for grain, oil, and pottery. The marketplace is alive with the sounds of bargaining, laughter, and music. This was Syria in its earliest days, a land of life, exchange, and growth. But all of this progress came with challenges. Neighbors sometimes grew jealous of Syria's riches. Invaders came, hoping to take the land and its treasures. The people of Syria had to defend what they had built. They learned to stand together, to protect their homes and their families. Over time, they grew strong and resourceful. As the years passed, these early cities laid the foundation for what was to come. Syria's people learned to adapt, to thrive even in difficult times. Their creativity and resilience became a part of their identity. They were not just survivors, they were innovators, dreamers, and builders. This chapter of Syria's history is a story of beginnings. It's the story of how a land between two rivers became the cradle of civilization. It's a story of people who faced challenges with courage and determination. Their legacy is everywhere, in the soil, in the ruins of ancient cities, and in the traditions that still live on today. Even now, thousands of years later, we can feel their presence. Their voices echo in the winds that sweep across the plains. Their footsteps remain in the stones of ancient roads. Their dreams, once rooted in the fertile soil of the crescent, have become part of the world's story. Chapter 2: The Glory of Ancient Kingdoms. Long ago, the land we now call Syria was home to powerful kingdoms. These kingdoms were not just places to live. They were centers of power, culture, and trade. Each one left its mark on history, shaping the world in ways we still feel today. One of the most famous was Ebla, an ancient city that rose in northern Syria more than 4,000 years ago. Ebla was extraordinary. It wasn't just a city of farmers and merchants. It was a place of learning and trade. Imagine walking through its streets. Merchants shout their prices. Donkeys pull carts loaded with goods. Scribes sit in quiet corners, writing on clay tablets. Ebla was alive with activity. At the heart of Ebla was its palace, a massive building filled with treasures. The palace held something even more precious than gold or jewels: its library. The library of Ebla contained hundreds of clay tablets, carefully written in cuneiform, one of the earliest forms of writing. These tablets recorded everything from trade deals to poetry. They tell us about the people of Ebla, their hopes, their fears, and their daily lives. It was one of the first libraries in the world. Can you imagine what it must have felt like to discover such a treasure thousands of years later? The voices of an ancient people speaking to us through time. Ebla's wealth came from trade. Its location made it a crossroads for merchants traveling between Mesopotamia and the Mediterranean. Traders brought gold, silver, and copper to Ebla, exchanging them for wool, wood, and precious stones. The city thrived. Its people grew rich, and its influence spread. But wealth and power often bring danger. Ebla was not alone in its ambitions. Other cities and kingdoms wanted control of its lands and riches. One day, disaster struck. The city was attacked by invaders, its buildings burned, and its people fled. Ebla fell, leaving behind ruins and ashes. Yet its story did not end there. The knowledge and culture of Ebla inspired generations to come. As the centuries passed, new kingdoms rose from the ashes. One of the most famous was Mari, located along the Euphrates River. Mari was known for its incredible palace, a true marvel of architecture. This palace had more than 300 rooms decorated with colorful murals. Imagine walking through its halls. The walls tell stories of gods, kings, and battles. Every corner of the palace shone with beauty and power. Like Ebla, Mari thrived on trade. Its location along the river made it a hub for merchants. Boats filled with goods sailed up and down the Euphrates, bringing wealth to the city. But Mari was also known for its diplomacy. Its kings built alliances with neighboring cities, sending letters and gifts to other rulers. These letters, written on clay tablets, show us the intelligence and skill of Mari's leaders. However, like Ebla, Mari's glory was not eternal. The city faced powerful enemies. Its palace was destroyed and its people scattered. Yet, the memory of Mari lived on. Archaeologists uncovered its secrets thousands of years later, revealing a kingdom of beauty and ambition. As the centuries rolled on, a new power rose in the region: the Assyrians. The Assyrians were fierce warriors, known for their strength and determination. They built a vast empire, stretching from Mesopotamia to Egypt. Syria became part of this empire, and the Assyrians left their mark on the land. The Assyrians were masters of building. They constructed towering palaces and massive walls to protect their cities. These palaces were unlike anything the world had ever seen. Imagine standing before one. The walls covered with carvings of lions, gods, and soldiers. Massive statues of winged bulls stood guard at the gates. These palaces were a symbol of the Assyrians' power and their pride. One of the greatest Assyrian kings was Ashurbanipal, who ruled from his capital in Nineveh. He was not only a warrior, but also a lover of knowledge. He created one of the largest libraries of the ancient world. In this library, scholars collected texts from across the empire, preserving the wisdom of earlier civilizations. Even today, some of the clay tablets from his library help us understand the ancient world. But the Assyrians were not invincible. Their empire grew too large, and their enemies grew stronger. Eventually, the Babylonians and Medes joined forces to bring the Assyrians down. Their cities were captured and their empire crumbled. Yet, their influence endured. The Assyrians had connected cultures and shared ideas across a vast region, leaving a legacy that shaped the future. Syria's ancient kingdoms were more than just places on a map. They were worlds of their own, filled with life, ambition, and creativity. The people who lived in these kingdoms were dreamers and builders. They faced challenges with courage, creating wonders that still amaze us today. Think about the courage it took to build a city like Ebla or Mari, to carve a palace out of stone, to send traders across dangerous lands, to fight for survival when enemies attacked. These people lived in a world of uncertainty, but they never stopped trying. They never stopped dreaming. Syria's ancient kingdoms also remind us of how connected people were, even thousands of years ago. Traders, scribes, and kings didn't just stay in their cities. They traveled. They exchanged goods, ideas, and stories. These connections made the ancient world vibrant and alive. Today, when we look at the ruins of Ebla, Mari, and the Assyrian cities, we feel a sense of wonder. These stones, broken and weathered by time, once held the hopes and dreams of countless people. Their voices still speak to us if we take the time to listen. As the sun sets over the ruins of these ancient kingdoms, we can imagine what life must have been like. The sound of merchants in the marketplace, the clink of tools as workers built towering palaces, the laughter of children playing in the streets, and above it all, the knowledge that these kingdoms were part of something greater, a story that continues to this day. The glory of Syria's ancient kingdoms may have faded, but their spirit lives on. They remind us of what humans are capable of when they work together, when they dream big, when they refuse to give up. Chapter 3. A Crossroads of the Silk Road. Imagine the sound of camel bells echoing in the desert. Dust rises in the air as a long caravan slowly moves across the sandy landscape. The camels are loaded with treasures, silk from China, spices from India, and glass from Syria. Traders shout greetings, their voices blending with the clinking of coins. This is the Silk Road, a web of trade routes that connected the East and the West, and at its heart was Syria. Syria's location made it special. It sat between Asia, Africa, and Europe, a bridge between continents. For thousands of years, merchants passed through its cities, bringing goods, stories, and ideas. Syria became a meeting place for cultures, a land of exchange and connection. One of the most famous cities on the Silk Road was Palmyra. Palmyra rose like an oasis in the middle of the Syrian desert. Its tall columns and grand temples seemed to touch the sky. Traders loved Palmyra. It was a place of safety, rest, and opportunity. Picture this, a weary trader arrives in Palmyra after weeks of traveling. His clothes are dusty and his camels are tired, but his face lights up as he sees the city gates. He knows that here he will sell his goods for a good price. In the market, he finds colorful fabrics, glittering jewels, and fragrant spices. Everywhere he looks, there is life. He smiles, knowing his journey was worth it. Palmyra's people were experts in trade. They knew the value of silk and spices, gold and silver. They built warehouses to store goods and inns for travelers. They understood the importance of hospitality. A warm meal, a safe place to sleep. These small things meant everything to travelers far from home. But Palmyra wasn't just about business. It was also a place of beauty. Its temples honored the gods. Its streets were lined with statues, and its gardens bloomed with flowers. One of its most stunning monuments was the Temple of Bel, a massive structure that stood at the city's center. This temple wasn't just a religious site. It was a symbol of Palmyra's power and wealth. As the caravan left Palmyra, it moved toward another great Syrian city, Damascus. Damascus, one of the oldest cities in the world, was a bustling hub of activity. Its bazaars were legendary, filled with goods from every corner of the world. The smell of spices filled the air. The sounds of haggling and laughter rang out. People of different languages and cultures came together here, creating a vibrant, colorful scene. The traders in Damascus weren't just selling goods. They were sharing ideas. A merchant from Persia might talk about new farming techniques. A scholar from Greece might share knowledge of astronomy. Damascus became more than a trade center. It became a center of learning and culture. In these cities, goods changed hands, but so did knowledge. The Silk Road wasn't just about trade. It was about connection. When a Chinese silk trader met a Syrian glassmaker, they shared more than their wares. They shared their stories, their traditions, and their dreams. Over time, these exchanges shaped the world. Syria was famous for its crafts. Its glassmakers created delicate vases and bowls that were highly prized. Its weavers made fabrics so fine that kings and queens wore them. Its metalworkers crafted tools and ornaments that were both beautiful and useful. Syrian goods traveled far and wide, spreading the country's reputation for quality and skill. But the Silk Road wasn't always peaceful. Bandits often attacked caravans, hoping to steal their treasures. To protect themselves, traders traveled in groups. They hired guards and took safe routes through cities like Palmyra and Damascus. Despite the risks, they kept going. The rewards were too great to give up. The journey wasn't easy. Traders faced harsh deserts, freezing mountains, and endless plains. They endured hunger, thirst, and danger. Yet, they pressed on. Their determination kept the Silk Road alive. And Syria, with its welcoming cities and skilled people, made their journeys worthwhile. Syria also played a role in spreading ideas. Religions like Christianity and Islam traveled along the Silk Road, carried by traders and pilgrims. New technologies, like paper-making from China, found their way to Europe through Syria. Languages mixed and cultures blended. Syria became a melting pot of the ancient world. One of the most remarkable figures in this story was Queen Zenobia of Palmyra. Zenobia ruled Palmyra with wisdom and strength. She expanded her kingdom and challenged the powerful Roman Empire. Under her leadership, Palmyra became a shining star of the Silk Road. But her story ended tragically. The Romans defeated her, and Palmyra's glory began to fade. Yet, Zenobia's legacy of courage and ambition lived on. As centuries passed, the Silk Road changed. New sea routes took the place of land caravans. Palmyra and other cities lost their importance, but the spirit of the Silk Road remained. The connections it created, the friendships, the knowledge, the cultural exchange could not be erased. Today, when we look at the ruins of Palmyra or walk through the old streets of Damascus, we can imagine the world of the Silk Road. We can hear the voices of merchants bargaining, the bells of camels ringing, and the laughter of children playing in the bazaars. We can feel the energy of a land that was once the heartbeat of global trade. The story of Syria and the Silk Road is a story of resilience and creativity. It shows us how people can come together, even across great distances. It reminds us that trade is not just about goods, it's about connection. And Syria, at the crossroads of the Silk Road, was the bridge that brought the world together. Chapter 4. The Dawn of Faith. Syria is a sacred land. For thousands of years, it has been a place where faith has flourished. It is a land of ancient temples, grand churches, and beautiful mosques. People from all walks of life have come here to worship, to seek answers, and to find peace. In the beginning, the people of Syria worshipped many gods. Each god had its own role. There was a god of the sun, a goddess of love, and a god of storms. People built temples to honor them. These temples were magnificent. They were made of stone and filled with statues and offerings. Imagine walking into one. The smell of burning incense fills the air. The flicker of oil lamps dances on the walls. Worshippers kneel in prayer, their voices whispering to the heavens. One of the most famous temples in ancient Syria was the Temple of Bel in Palmyra. Bel was a powerful god, believed to control the universe. The temple was a masterpiece of architecture. Its tall columns and massive walls stood as a symbol of devotion and faith. People came from far and wide to pray there. Festivals were held in Bel's honor, with music, dancing, and offerings. The temple was more than a place of worship. It was the heart of the community. But the beliefs of the people began to change. Over time, new ideas spread across Syria. These ideas spoke of one God instead of many. They taught that this God was not just a powerful force, but a loving creator. These ideas laid the foundation for monotheism, the belief in one God. The first of these new faiths was Judaism. Jewish communities grew in Syria, especially in cities like Damascus and Aleppo. They built synagogues where they gathered to pray, study, and celebrate. The Jewish people brought with them traditions that shaped the culture of Syria. They shared stories of prophets and miracles, stories that inspired hope and strength. Then came the rise of Christianity. Syria became one of the earliest centers of this new faith. It was here, in a city called Antioch, that followers of Jesus were first called Christians. Antioch became a place of great importance in the Christian world. It was a city of churches and missionaries, where faith spread like wildfire. One of the most moving stories from this time is about the martyrs of Syria. These were men and women who refused to give up their faith, even when faced with persecution. Their courage inspired others to stay strong in their beliefs. Their sacrifices became symbols of devotion, and their stories were told for generations. Syria is also home to some of the oldest Christian churches in the world. In the city of Malula, you can still hear the language of Jesus, Aramaic, spoken by the local people. The town is filled with ancient churches, their walls painted with images of saints and angels. Walking through Malula feels like stepping back in time. The air is filled with a sense of holiness and history. As Christianity spread, it faced challenges. The Roman Empire, which ruled over Syria, was not always kind to Christians. Many believers were imprisoned or killed, but their faith could not be silenced. Over time, Christianity grew stronger. It became the dominant religion in Syria, shaping its culture and traditions. In the 7th century, a new faith emerged, Islam. It began in Arabia and quickly spread to Syria. The people of Syria embraced Islam, and it became a central part of their lives. Mosques were built, their domes and minarets rising high into the sky. The call to prayer echoed through the streets, reminding people of their connection to God. One of the most beautiful mosques in the world is the Umayyad Mosque in Damascus. This mosque is not just a place of worship. It is a masterpiece of art and architecture. Its walls are decorated with golden mosaics that shimmer in the sunlight. Inside, believers kneel in prayer, their faces filled with devotion. The mosque is also home to the tomb of John the Baptist, a prophet respected in both Christianity and Islam. It is a symbol of the shared history of these two faiths. Islam brought new traditions to Syria. The Quran, the holy book of Islam, became a guide for life. Its teachings emphasized compassion, justice, and community. Ramadan, the holy month of fasting, became a time of reflection and generosity. The people of Syria embraced these traditions, weaving them into the fabric of their lives. But faith in Syria was not just about rituals and buildings. It was about people. It was about their stories, their struggles, and their hopes. Faith gave them strength in times of hardship. It brought them together in times of celebration. It connected them to something greater than themselves. Over the centuries, Syria became a land of many religions. Christians, Muslims, and Jews lived side by side, sharing their cultures and traditions. This diversity enriched Syria, making it a place of tolerance and understanding. It wasn't always easy, but the people of Syria found ways to live together in harmony. Today, Syria's religious heritage is a source of pride. Its ancient temples, churches, and mosques are reminders of the country's rich history. They stand as symbols of faith, resilience, and unity. Faith in Syria is not just a thing of the past. It continues to shape the lives of its people. It gives them hope in difficult times and guides them toward a better future. Whether in a mosque, a church, or a synagogue, the people of Syria find strength in their connection to the divine. As the sun sets over the Umayyad Mosque, its golden mosaics glowing in the fading light, we are reminded of the power of faith. We are reminded of the people who prayed here, who built these sacred places with love and devotion. Their faith has left a mark on Syria, a mark that will never fade. Chapter 5. Damascus, the Eternal City. Damascus. Just saying the name feels magical. This is not just a city, it is a legend. For over 4,000 years, people have lived here, making Damascus the oldest continuously inhabited city in the world. Its streets have seen kings and conquerors, poets and prophets. Every corner holds a story. Let's take a walk through Damascus. Close your eyes and imagine it. The streets are narrow, lined with old stone walls. Above, wooden balconies lean out, their carved designs like lace. In the air, you smell spices from the markets, cinnamon, cumin, and cardamom. The sound of voices fills the air. Merchants call out their wares, and children laugh as they chase one another through the alleys. Damascus is alive. One of the most famous places in Damascus is the Umayyad Mosque. This mosque is not just a building. It is a masterpiece. It stands at the heart of the city, its golden dome shining in the sunlight. People come here to pray, to reflect, and to marvel at its beauty. The history of the Umayyad Mosque is incredible. Long before it was a mosque, the site was a temple for Hadad, an ancient Syrian god. Later, it became a Roman temple for Jupiter. Then, a Christian cathedral dedicated to John the Baptist. Finally, it became a mosque in the 8th century. Today, it remains one of the most important religious sites in the world. Walking inside the mosque feels like stepping into another world. The floor is covered in smooth marble. The walls are decorated with golden mosaics that sparkle in the light. These mosaics show scenes of paradise, rivers, gardens, and cities that seem to float on clouds. Imagine standing there, feeling the coolness of the stone under your feet, and looking up at the intricate designs. It's breathtaking. The mosque is also home to the tomb of John the Baptist, known as Prophet Yahya in Islam. His burial place is a symbol of shared faith between Christians and Muslims. Pilgrims from all over the world come to visit his tomb, their prayers filling the air with a quiet, powerful energy. But Damascus is not just about grand monuments. Its charm lies in its everyday life. In the heart of the city, you'll find the Souk al-Hamidiyah, a bustling market that stretches for hundreds of meters. Here, you can buy anything. Silk scarves, fragrant soaps, golden jewelry, or colorful spices. The souk is noisy and crowded, but it's also full of life. Traders smile as they bargain, and the aroma of fresh coffee and roasted nuts drifts through the air. As you leave the souk, you might find yourself in the old city of Damascus. This area is like a maze, with winding streets and hidden courtyards. In these courtyards, you'll discover traditional Syrian houses. These houses are built around central gardens, where fountains bubble and jasmine flowers bloom. Families gather here to drink tea, tell stories, and escape the heat of the day. One of these houses is the Azim Palace, a stunning example of Syrian architecture. Built in the 18th century, it was the home of a wealthy Ottoman governor. Walking through its rooms, you'll see intricate woodwork, colorful tiles, and peaceful courtyards. It's a place that feels both grand and welcoming, a reflection of Damascus itself. Damascus has also been a city of learning and culture. Over the centuries, it has been home to poets, scholars, and artists. One of its most famous residents was the poet Nizar Qabbani, known for his beautiful love poems. In his writings, Qabbani described Damascus as a mother, a symbol of warmth and care. His words captured the heart of the city, reminding everyone of its deep connection to its people. The city's gardens also tell a story. Damascus is known as the City of Jasmine, and its gardens are filled with these delicate, fragrant flowers. At night, the scent of jasmine fills the air, mixing with the cool breeze. In these gardens, you can hear the sounds of water from fountains and the chirping of birds. It's a place where people come to rest, to dream, and to find inspiration. Damascus has seen many challenges over its long history. It has been conquered and rebuilt countless times. From the Romans to the Ottomans, many empires have left their mark here. Yet, the city has always risen again, stronger and more beautiful than before. During difficult times, the people of Damascus have shown incredible resilience. They have rebuilt their homes, protected their traditions, and welcomed strangers with open arms. Their strength and generosity are part of what makes Damascus so special. One of the most emotional places in Damascus is the street called Straight. This street is mentioned in the Bible, in the story of St. Paul. It is where Paul regained his sight and began his journey as a Christian. Walking along this street feels like walking through history. The stones beneath your feet have been worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. You can feel the weight of time, the layers of stories that make up this city. As the sun sets over Damascus, the city takes on a golden glow. The call to prayer echoes from the Umayyad Mosque, mixing with the hum of the streets. Lights begin to twinkle in the windows of old houses. The city feels peaceful, yet alive with history and hope. Damascus is more than just a city. It is a living museum, a place where the past and present meet. It is a city of faith, culture, and resilience. It is a city that welcomes everyone, offering them a taste of its beauty and its soul. As you leave Damascus, you carry its stories with you. You remember the golden mosaics of the mosque, the laughter in the souk, and the scent of jasmine in the air. Damascus stays with you, a reminder of the power of history, tradition, and human connection. Before we begin Chapter 6, a quick note for our listeners. You're currently listening to this audiobook on Woo English. Remember, this content is specially made for Woo English listeners only. If you're hearing it on any other channel, it may be a violation of Woo English's rights. Please ensure you're tuned into the right source to fully enjoy and respect this audiobook journey. Now, let's continue the story. Chapter 6. A Land of Many Cultures. Syria is a land of incredible diversity. It is home to people of many different backgrounds, each with their own stories, traditions, and dreams. Arabs, Kurds, Armenians, Assyrians, Turkmen, and Circassians all live here, side by side. Their cultures blend together, creating a rich and colorful mosaic. Imagine walking through a village in Syria. You might hear children laughing in Arabic as they run down the street. Around the corner, an elderly man speaks Kurdish to his friend. In another house, a family gathers to prepare Armenian dishes for dinner. Each voice adds to the symphony of cultures that fills this land. One of the best ways to understand Syria's diversity is through its music and dance. Music has always been a way for people to express their emotions and share their stories. In Syria, traditional instruments like the oud, ney, and tabla are used to create melodies that are both joyful and haunting. When you hear the beat of the drum, you might see a group of people forming a circle. They are about to dance the dabke, a traditional folk dance. The dancers link hands and move together, their feet stamping in rhythm. The dabke is more than just a dance. It is a celebration of unity and community. Watching it is unforgettable. The energy, the laughter, the connection between the dancers, it all feels alive. But music and dance are only part of Syria's cultural richness. Food is another way to experience its diversity. Syrian cuisine is famous for its flavors, a perfect mix of sweet, sour, and savory. Each community brings its own unique touch to the table. Picture this. A family is gathered for a meal. On the table, there are plates of kibbeh, crispy on the outside and soft on the inside. There's tabbouleh, a fresh salad made with parsley, tomatoes, and lemon juice. And for dessert, there's baklava, layers of flaky pastry filled with nuts and soaked in sweet syrup. The air is filled with the smell of roasted spices and fresh bread. It's a feast for the senses. In Kurdish homes, you might find dishes like dolma, vine leaves stuffed with rice and herbs. In Armenian households, you could taste lavash bread and spicy meat dishes. Each meal tells a story. It speaks of history, family, and the love that goes into preparing food. Syria's traditions also shine in its crafts and art. In the bustling markets of cities like Damascus and Aleppo, you'll find artisans at work. Woodcarvers create intricate designs for furniture. Glass blowers shape colorful vases and lamps. Weavers make rugs and textiles with patterns that reflect their heritage. One of the most famous Syrian crafts is Damascene steel, known for its beauty and strength. In the past, swords made of this steel were highly prized. Today, the art lives on in jewelry and decorative pieces. Each item is a reminder of Syria's rich history and the skill of its people. Religious diversity is another important part of Syria's identity. For centuries, Christians, Muslims, Jews, and others have lived together in this land. Their traditions and festivals add to the cultural tapestry of Syria. During Ramadan, Muslim families gather for iftar, the evening meal that breaks the fast. Streets are decorated with lights, and the air is filled with the smell of special dishes prepared for the occasion. For Christians, Easter is a time of joy and celebration. Churches hold services, and families share meals together. Each community respects the other's traditions, creating a spirit of harmony. In Syria, language also reflects its diversity. Arabic is the most widely spoken, but many Syrians also speak Kurdish, Armenian, Aramaic, or Circassian. In some villages, you can still hear Aramaic, the language spoken during the time of Jesus. It's like stepping into history, hearing words that have been spoken for thousands of years. Festivals are another way Syria's many cultures come together. One of the most colorful is Nowruz, the Kurdish New Year. Celebrated in spring, it marks the arrival of a new season and a fresh start. Families light bonfires, dance, and share food. The air is filled with joy and hope. Another vibrant festival is Eid al-Fitr, which marks the end of Ramadan. People wear new clothes, visit family and friends, and share sweets like mamoul, cookies filled with dates or nuts. The streets come alive with laughter and celebration. Despite their differences, the people of Syria share common values. Family is at the heart of their lives. Hospitality is a deeply held tradition. In Syria, it's common to invite guests into your home, even if they are strangers. A cup of tea, a plate of food, and warm conversation are ways of showing respect and kindness. Storytelling is also a shared tradition. In the past, families would gather in the evenings to listen to a hakawati, a storyteller. The hakawati would tell tales of heroes, love, and adventure. His voice would rise and fall, drawing the listeners into the world of his story. Even today, these stories live on, passed down from one generation to the next. The diversity of Syria has not always been easy. There have been times of conflict and misunderstanding. But the people of Syria have always found ways to come together. Their shared love for their land, their traditions, and their families unites them. One place that symbolizes this unity is Aleppo's citadel, a fortress that has stood for centuries. It has been a witness to history, a protector of the city, and a gathering place for people of all backgrounds. Standing on its walls, you can see the city below, a mix of old and new, tradition and modernity. As the sun sets over Syria, the colors of the land come to life. The golden light touches the minarets of mosques, the crosses of churches, and the rooftops of homes. The voices of its people, speaking in many languages, singing in many tunes, blend together into one harmonious song. Syria is not just a land of many cultures. It is a land of connection, where differences come together to create something beautiful. It is a reminder that diversity is a strength, not a weakness. that unity does not mean sameness. It means celebrating what makes each of us unique. Chapter 7. The Golden Age of Knowledge. There was a time when the world looked to Syria for knowledge. It was during the Islamic Golden Age, a period of incredible learning and discovery. From the 8th to the 13th century, scholars in Syria and across the Islamic world brought light to science, art, and philosophy. This was a time when libraries were treasures and books were keys to understanding the universe. Imagine walking into a library in Damascus during this golden age. The air smells of ink and parchment. The shelves are lined with books, hundreds, maybe thousands. Each book is carefully written by hand, its pages filled with beautiful calligraphy. Scholars sit at wooden desks, deep in thought. Some are writing, others are reading. They are solving problems, exploring ideas, and creating knowledge. One of the most famous libraries of this time was the House of Wisdom in Baghdad, which was closely connected to Syria. Scholars from Damascus and Aleppo traveled there to share their knowledge. They translated works from Greek, Persian, and Indian into Arabic. These translations brought the ideas of Plato, Aristotle, and Pythagoras to a new audience. But Syrian scholars didn't just translate, they also created. They developed new ideas and pushed the boundaries of knowledge. In Aleppo, astronomers built observatories to study the stars. With their instruments, they mapped the skies and calculated the movements of planets. Their discoveries helped sailors navigate and expanded humanity's understanding of the universe. One of the most brilliant minds of this time was Al-Farabi, a philosopher and scientist who was born in Syria. He was known as the second teacher after Aristotle. Al-Farabi wrote about logic, ethics, and politics. He dreamed of a perfect society where people lived in harmony and shared wisdom. His ideas influenced both Islamic and Western thought for centuries. Medicine also flourished during the Golden Age. Syrian doctors became masters of healing, studying the human body and finding cures for diseases. One of the greatest medical minds was Ibn al-Nafis, who discovered how blood circulates in the body. His work was groundbreaking, and his ideas paved the way for modern medicine. Hospitals in cities like Damascus were places of learning as well as healing. They were open to everyone, rich or poor, Muslim or non-Muslim. Doctors worked tirelessly, not only treating patients, but also teaching students. Imagine a young apprentice standing beside an experienced physician, watching as they perform a delicate surgery. The apprentice takes notes, eager to one day save lives as their teacher does. The Golden Age wasn't just about science. It was also a time of art and beauty. Poets wrote verses that captured the emotions of love, loss, and wonder. One of Syria's most beloved poets was al-Mutanabi, whose words still resonate today. He wrote with passion and power, his poetry filled with wisdom and imagination. Calligraphy became an art form during this time. Syrian calligraphers used their pens to create works of incredible beauty. They wrote verses from the Quran, their letters flowing like rivers. These works were not just words, They were masterpieces that decorated mosques, books, and palaces. Architecture also thrived. Builders and craftsmen in Syria created some of the most stunning structures in the world. The Umayyad Mosque in Damascus is a perfect example. Its golden mosaics, marble floors, and towering minarets are a testament to the creativity and skill of this era. The mosque was not just a place of worship. It was also a center of learning and community. Philosophy, too, reached new heights. Scholars debated the meaning of life, the nature of the universe, and the existence of God. These discussions were not about winning arguments. They were about seeking truth. People believed that knowledge was a gift from God and that using it to help others was a form of worship. Trade played a big role in spreading knowledge. Syria was at the crossroads of the world, connecting east and west. Merchants didn't just carry silk and spices, they also carried ideas. A trader might bring a book from Persia to Damascus, or take a Syrian invention to Spain. This exchange of goods and ideas fueled the Golden Age, making Syria a bridge between cultures. Education was highly valued during this time. Schools and universities flourished in Syrian cities. Boys and girls were taught to read and write, and the brightest students continued their studies in subjects like mathematics, astronomy, and medicine. Teachers were respected figures in society, and learning was seen as a lifelong journey. The people of Syria understood that knowledge was power, but they also believed it came with responsibility. Scholars were expected to use their knowledge for good, to heal the sick, improve society, and inspire others. This sense of duty created a culture of generosity and cooperation. Despite the achievements of this era, the Golden Age faced challenges. Wars, invasions, and political struggles threatened to destroy what had been built. But the knowledge created during this time was too powerful to disappear. It was preserved in books and passed down through generations. Today, we can still see the impact of Syria's Golden Age. Its contributions to science, medicine, and art shaped the world we live in. The stars mapped by Syrian astronomers are the same stars we see when we look up at the night sky. The words of its poets still touch our hearts. The inventions of its scientists still make our lives better. Walking through Damascus or Aleppo today, you can feel the echoes of this golden age. In the old markets, you might find a craftsman carving designs into wood, continuing a tradition that has lasted for centuries. In a library, you might see students reading books, their minds full of questions and ideas. The spirit of learning and discovery is still alive. Syria's Golden Age reminds us of the power of knowledge. It shows us what humanity can achieve when we are curious, open-minded, and willing to work together. It is a story of creativity, resilience, and hope. Chapter 8. Empires at War. Syria's history is a story of power, ambition, and resilience. For centuries, this land was the prize that many empires sought to claim. Its wealth, fertile lands, and position at the crossroads of the world made it a battleground. Each empire left its mark, shaping Syria's borders, culture, and identity. The wars began long ago, but one of the most dramatic periods came during the Crusades. In the 11th century, European knights set out to capture the Holy Land. Their goal was Jerusalem, but Syria stood in their path. Cities like Aleppo, Damascus, and Homs became targets. The Crusaders wanted to control these cities and the trade routes that passed through them. Imagine the fear of a Syrian farmer as he watches foreign armies approach. The ground shakes with the hooves of horses. The air fills with the clang of metal as knights march forward, their armor gleaming in the sun. The farmer hides his family, hoping the soldiers will pass without destroying his home. War changes everything. The Crusaders built castles to defend their conquests. One of the most famous was Crac des Chevaliers, a massive fortress in western Syria. It was nearly impossible to capture, with thick walls and tall towers. The castle became a symbol of Crusader power, but it also inspired resistance. The people of Syria didn't give up. They fought back, led by great leaders like Salah ad-Din, known in the West as Saladin. Salah ad-Din was a Kurdish general who united Muslim forces to drive out the Crusaders. He was not just a warrior, he was a man of honor. Stories tell of how he showed mercy to his enemies, earning respect even from those he fought against. One of the most dramatic moments of this period came in 1187, when Salah ad-Din recaptured Jerusalem. This victory gave hope to Syria's people. It showed that they could stand against even the most powerful invaders. But the Crusaders were not Syria's only challenge. Over the centuries, many other empires sought to control this land. The Mongols came from the east, sweeping through Syria with terrifying speed. Their armies were unstoppable, destroying cities and leaving devastation in their wake. Imagine the horror of a city under attack by the Mongols. Fires rage, turning the night sky red. Families flee, clutching what little they can carry. The sound of destruction fills the air. For many, it must have felt like the end of the world. Yet Syria endured. The people rebuilt their cities and their lives. They learned to adapt and to survive. Each time an empire rose and fell, Syria remained. In the 16th century, a new power arrived, the Ottoman Empire. The Ottomans ruled Syria for over 400 years, bringing both stability and change. Under their rule, Syria became part of a vast empire that stretched from Europe to Arabia. The Ottomans introduced new systems of government and trade. They built roads, mosques, and schools. Damascus became a key city in the empire, a center of politics and culture. But Ottoman rule was not always easy for the people of Syria. Heavy taxes and strict control sometimes led to unrest. One of the most famous episodes of this period was the siege of Aleppo during the Ottoman Mamluk Wars. Aleppo, a city of great wealth and importance, was often caught in the middle of conflicts. Its people suffered greatly, but their resilience became legendary. Despite the wars, Syria also became a place of alliances. Empires often worked with local leaders, offering protection in exchange for loyalty. These alliances shaped Syria's borders and its relationships with neighboring lands. Syria's position as a crossroads also brought new ideas and cultures. Even during war, merchants continued to trade, scholars shared knowledge, and artists created beauty. Syria remained a land of connection, even in times of conflict. One of the most emotional stories from this period is about the ordinary people who endured these wars. Farmers, merchants, and families faced constant uncertainty. Would their crops be burned? Would their homes be taken? Yet, they found ways to survive. They rebuilt what was destroyed. They passed down their traditions and their hope. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the Ottoman Empire began to weaken. New powers rose, and the world entered a time of rapid change. Syria became a battlefield once again during World War I, as the Ottoman Empire fought to hold its territory. The war brought suffering to Syria's people. Food shortages, disease, and violence made life difficult. But it also brought new opportunities. The collapse of the Ottoman Empire gave Syrians a chance to imagine a different future, a future of independence. The legacy of these wars is written in the stones of Syria's ancient cities and castles. Each battle, each empire left its mark. Today, when you visit places like Crac des Chevaliers or Aleppo's citadel, you can feel the echoes of the past. You can imagine the soldiers who stood on these walls, the people who lived in these cities, and the resilience that kept Syria alive. Syria's history of war is not just a story of conquest. It is a story of survival. Each challenge brought change, but it also brought growth. The people of Syria learned to adapt, to rebuild, and to move forward. They held on to their traditions, their culture, and their identity. As the sun sets over the mountains of Syria, casting a golden light on the ruins of castles and cities, we are reminded of the strength of this land. Empires may rise and fall, but the spirit of Syria endures. Its people, its history, and its culture are a testament to resilience and hope. Chapter 9. From Ottoman Rule to Independence. For 4 long centuries, Syria was part of the Ottoman Empire. It was a time of both stability and struggle. The Ottomans brought order, but they also ruled with strict control. Taxes were heavy, and decisions about Syria were made far away, in Istanbul. For many Syrians, this created a sense of distance and frustration. Life under Ottoman rule was not easy. Farmers worked hard, yet much of their harvest went to pay taxes. Merchants traded in bustling markets, but faced strict regulations. Villages and cities grew, but the people often felt that their voices were not heard. Still, they endured. They held on to their traditions, their culture, and their dreams. By the 19th century, the Ottoman Empire was weakening. New ideas began to spread across the world. Ideas of freedom, independence, and national pride. In Syria, these ideas took root. People started to talk about change. They dreamed of a Syria where they could make their own decisions. a Syria that was free. The first signs of rebellion appeared in small ways. People began to write and speak about independence. Secret groups formed, spreading messages of hope and resistance. These groups were careful. The Ottomans punished anyone who spoke against them. But the dream of freedom could not be silenced. During World War I, the Ottoman Empire faced a crisis. The empire was fighting on many fronts, and its power was crumbling. For Syrians, this was a moment of opportunity. They saw a chance to break free. One of the key leaders of this time was Faisal bin Hussein, a prince from the Arabian Peninsula. Faisal worked with Arab nationalists to unite the people against Ottoman rule. His efforts inspired many Syrians to join the cause. They believed that together they could achieve independence. The Arab Revolt began in 1916. It was a time of courage and sacrifice. Syrians fought alongside other Arabs, attacking Ottoman forces and reclaiming towns and cities. Imagine the determination of a young man standing shoulder to shoulder with his neighbors, fighting for a dream of freedom. The odds were against them, but their hearts were full of hope. When World War I ended in 1918, the Ottoman Empire collapsed. Damascus, Syria's capital, was liberated. Crowds filled the streets, cheering and waving flags. It was a moment of triumph. People believed that their dream of independence had finally come true. But freedom was not so simple. After the war, the victorious Allied powers, France and Britain, divided the lands of the former Ottoman Empire. They ignored the wishes of the local people. Syria was placed under French control as a mandate. For Syrians, this felt like a betrayal. The French promised to help Syria become independent. But in reality, they ruled with an iron fist. They controlled the government, the military, and the economy. Once again, Syrians found themselves fighting for their freedom. The struggle for independence continued. In 1920, Syrians declared the establishment of the Kingdom of Syria, with Faisal as king. But the French quickly crushed this effort. The Battle of Maysalun was a turning point. Syrian forces, led by General Yusuf al-Azma, bravely fought the French. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they refused to surrender. Al-Azma died in battle, becoming a symbol of resistance. Despite the loss, the fight for independence did not end. Throughout the 1920s and 1930s, Syrians organized revolts and protests. The Great Syrian Revolt of 1925 was one of the most significant. Villages and cities rose up against French rule, demanding freedom. The French responded with harsh measures, bombing towns and imprisoning leaders. But the spirit of the people could not be broken. In the midst of these struggles, Syrian culture flourished. Writers, poets, and thinkers used their work to inspire hope and unity. They reminded people of Syria's rich history and the strength of its identity. They showed that the fight for freedom was not just about politics. It was about the soul of the nation. Finally, after decades of struggle, independence came closer. World War II weakened France's hold on its colonies. In 1941, France promised to recognize Syria's independence, but it wasn't until 1946 that the last French soldiers left Syrian soil. On April 17, 1946, Syria celebrated its full independence. This day is remembered as Evacuation Day, a national holiday that honors the sacrifices of those who fought for freedom. The joy of independence was immense. In Damascus, people filled the streets, waving flags and singing songs. Families gathered to celebrate, sharing food and stories of the long struggle. For the first time in centuries, Syria was free to chart its own course. But independence was also a new beginning. It brought challenges as well as opportunities. Syrians faced the task of building a nation, one that honored its past while looking to the future. They worked to create a government, rebuild their economy, and strengthen their society. It was not easy, but the dream of a united, independent Syria kept them going. The journey from Ottoman rule to independence is a story of resilience and hope. It is a story of people who refused to give up, even when the odds were against them. It is a story of unity, sacrifice, and the power of dreams. Today, as Syrians remember this history, they honor the courage of those who fought for their freedom. They honor the farmers, the merchants, the students, and the soldiers who dared to believe in a better future. Their legacy lives on in the hearts of the people and in the land they loved. As the sun sets over the mountains of Syria, casting a golden glow on its cities and villages, we are reminded of the strength of this nation. Syria's journey to independence was long and difficult, but it was also inspiring. It shows us that even in the darkest times, the light of hope can guide us forward. Chapter 10. The Shadows of Conflict. Syria, a land of beauty and history, has faced many challenges in modern times. War and conflict have left deep scars on its people and its cities. The shadows of these struggles still linger, but so does the strength of its people. This is a story of pain, resilience, and survival. It began in the mid-20th century. After gaining independence, Syria worked to build its future. But the path was not easy. Political tensions rose, and rival groups fought for power. In 1963, the Ba'ath Party came to power, promising change. However, the years that followed were marked by unrest. Coups and disagreements created divisions, and the people of Syria often felt uncertain about what the future would bring. In 2011, everything changed. Inspired by uprisings in neighboring countries, Syrians took to the streets. They demanded more freedom, better opportunities, and a voice in their government. Their calls for change were powerful, but they were met with violence. What began as peaceful protests turned into conflict. Syria was plunged into a civil war. The war spread quickly. Cities that had stood for centuries became battlegrounds. Streets once filled with laughter and music were now filled with fear and destruction. Families fled their homes, leaving behind everything they had. Many sought refuge in other countries, while others moved to safer parts of Syria. For some, there was no safe place to go. One of the hardest-hit cities was Aleppo, a place rich in history and culture. The old city, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, was devastated. Imagine walking through its ancient streets, now reduced to rubble. The famous souk, once alive with merchants and shoppers, was silent. The sound of bombs replaced the hum of daily life. People fought to save what they could, but the damage was immense. Another city deeply affected was Homs. Known as the capital of the revolution, it became a symbol of the conflict. For months, parts of Homs were under siege. Food and medicine ran out. Families shared scraps of bread and collected rainwater to survive. Despite the suffering, the people of Homs showed incredible resilience. Their courage inspired others, even in the darkest times. The war brought unimaginable pain. Hospitals were overwhelmed. Schools closed. Children grew up knowing only war. Some were separated from their families, while others faced dangers no child should ever experience. These are the shadows of conflict, moments that leave deep, lasting wounds. But amid the pain, there were also stories of hope. Communities came together to support one another. Doctors worked tirelessly in underground clinics, saving lives with limited resources. Volunteers delivered food and supplies to those in need. Artists used their talents to bring messages of peace and resilience. These acts of kindness reminded everyone that even in the darkest times, humanity can shine. One of the most heartbreaking aspects of the war was the refugee crisis. Millions of Syrians fled their homes, seeking safety in other countries. Some crossed borders on foot, carrying only a few belongings. Others made dangerous journeys by sea. Many faced harsh conditions in refugee camps. But even in these difficult circumstances, they found ways to rebuild their lives. Children attended makeshift schools. Families planted gardens. People shared their stories, refusing to let the war define them. The war also brought international attention. Countries around the world watched as Syria suffered. Some provided aid, while others became involved in the conflict. This made the situation even more complicated. The war was no longer just about Syria. It became part of a larger global struggle. For many Syrians, this added to their frustration and pain. They wanted peace, but peace seemed far away. One of the most emotional stories of the war is the resilience of the Syrian people. Despite the destruction, they have held onto their culture and identity. In refugee camps, women teach traditional crafts to younger generations. In bombed-out neighborhoods, children play games, finding moments of joy in the chaos. In cities around the world, Syrian musicians and writers share their art, keeping their heritage alive. The war has also inspired acts of bravery. Rescue workers, known as the White Helmets, became heroes. They risked their lives to save others, pulling people from the rubble after bombings. Their work was dangerous and exhausting, but they never gave up. Their courage gave hope to many and showed the world the strength of the Syrian spirit. For those who stayed in Syria, life was filled with challenges. Many rebuilt their homes after they were destroyed, only to see them damaged again. Parents worked hard to protect their children, to give them a sense of normalcy. Teachers held classes in basements and makeshift schools, determined to keep education alive. These small acts of resilience are what kept the country going. As the war continued, there were moments of progress. Some areas reached ceasefires, and people began to return to their homes. Efforts to rebuild cities and villages began, though the road to recovery was long. International organizations and local communities worked together to provide aid and support. Slowly, life started to return. Today, Syria is still healing. The war has left deep scars, but the whispers of strength and survival remain. People are rebuilding their lives, their homes, and their communities. Children are returning to schools. Markets are reopening. Music and laughter are once again heard in the streets. The shadows of conflict will always be part of Syria's story. But so will the resilience of its people. They have shown the world that even in the face of unimaginable hardship, hope can survive. They have taught us the power of community, of holding on to dreams even when everything seems lost. As the sun sets over Syria, casting its golden light on the land, we are reminded of its strength. The cities may bear scars, but they also hold stories of survival. The people may have suffered, but they have also shown incredible courage. Syria's journey is not over. It is a journey of rebuilding, of healing, and of hope. Chapter 11. The Spirit of the People. Syria's greatest strength is its people. Throughout history, they have faced wars, challenges, and hardships. Yet they endure. Their spirit is unbreakable. Farmers, poets, artisans, and everyday families keep the heart of Syria alive. Their laughter, songs, and stories are a light in dark times. Imagine a farmer waking before sunrise. The air is cool and the land is quiet. He ties his scarf tightly, picks up his tools, and heads to his fields. The soil is dry and the work is hard, but he doesn't stop. He plants seeds with care, hoping for a good harvest. His family depends on it. Despite the challenges, he smiles. The earth has always been his partner, and he trusts it will provide. In small villages across Syria, farmers grow olives, wheat, and fruits. Their hands are strong from years of work. They use traditional methods passed down from generation to generation. Even during difficult times, they stay connected to the land. They know that it is more than just soil. It is life. In the cities, you find the artisans. These are people who create beauty with their hands. In Damascus, the scent of cedar wood fills the air as woodworkers carve delicate designs. Their tools move smoothly, shaping patterns that reflect Syria's history. Each piece is a work of art. Nearby, a glassblower works in his shop. The heat from the furnace is intense. He dips his pipe into molten glass and blows gently, creating a vase. The glass sparkles like a gem as it takes shape. This craft has been practiced in Syria for centuries, and the artisans are proud to keep it alive. In the markets, you hear the hum of activity. Merchants call out their prices. Customers inspect colorful fabrics and spices. The energy is infectious. In one corner, a woman weaves a carpet on a loom. Her hands move quickly, threading vibrant colors into a beautiful design. She learned this skill from her mother, who learned it from hers. Each carpet tells a story. But the spirit of the people is not just in their work, it is also in their words. Syria has a long tradition of poetry and storytelling. Poets like Nizar Qabbani captured the beauty and pain of life in their verses. His words speak of love, loss, and hope. Even today, his poems are recited at gatherings, filling the air with emotion. Storytelling is also part of Syrian life. In the past, families would gather in the evenings to listen to a hakawati, a storyteller. The hakawati's voice would rise and fall, bringing tales of heroes and adventure to life. Children would sit wide-eyed, imagining distant lands and brave warriors. These stories are still told today, connecting the past to the present. Music is another way Syrians express their spirit. The sound of the oud, a traditional string instrument, fills the air at celebrations. Its melody is both joyful and haunting. Groups of people form circles and dance the dabke, their feet stamping in rhythm. The laughter and energy are contagious. In moments like these, the challenges of life seem far away. Food is also a celebration of life. In Syrian kitchens, families prepare dishes with care and love. A mother stirs a pot of malokia, her daughter helping by slicing garlic. The smell of spices fills the room. On the table, there's hummus, kibbeh, and freshly baked bread. Food is more than nourishment. It is a way to bring people together. Even during hard times, the people of Syria hold on to their traditions. In refugee camps, women teach children how to bake bread over open fires. Men gather to share stories and songs. These small acts keep their culture alive, even when they are far from home. One of the most touching examples of the Syrian spirit is their generosity. In Syria, guests are treated with great respect. It doesn't matter how little a family has, they will always offer tea, food, and a warm smile. Hospitality is a way of life, a reminder that kindness can exist even in the hardest moments. The resilience of the Syrian people is also seen in their creativity. Artists use their work to express hope and resistance. Murals appear on the walls of destroyed buildings, turning rubble into beauty. Writers put their emotions into words, creating stories that inspire strength. Musicians compose songs that remind people of home and unity. The children of Syria are perhaps the greatest symbol of its spirit. Despite everything they have faced, they continue to dream. A boy in a refugee camp plays with a soccer ball made of rolled-up clothes. A girl sits with a book, learning to read under the light of a lantern. They laugh, they play, and they imagine a better future. Their resilience is a testament to the strength of their families and communities. As you walk through the streets of Damascus, Aleppo, or Homs, you can feel the spirit of the people. It's in the way a shopkeeper greets his customers with a smile. It's in the sound of children playing in the alleys. It's in the aroma of coffee and cardamom drifting from open windows. even in the face of challenges, life goes on. The spirit of the Syrian people is one of pride and hope. They are proud of their history, their traditions, and their identity. They hold on to these things tightly, knowing they are what makes Syria unique. And they hope for a future where their children can grow up in peace, surrounded by the beauty of their culture. As the sun sets over the hills of Syria, casting a golden glow on the villages and cities, we see the strength of its people. Their resilience shines like a beacon, a reminder that even in the hardest times, the human spirit can endure. Chapter 12. Dreams of Tomorrow. Syria has endured much. Its history is filled with both glory and pain. But now, as the dust of conflict begins to settle, the people of Syria are looking to the future. They dream of peace, of rebuilding their homes, and of unity. They hold on to hope, believing that brighter days are ahead. Imagine a young girl sitting by a window in a quiet village. She looks out at the fields, thinking about her future. She wants to be a teacher, to help other children learn and grow. Her dream is not just for herself, but for her country. She believes that education is the key to a better Syria. Across the country, similar dreams are being born. A farmer plans to replant his orchard, destroyed by war. A doctor in a crowded refugee camp hopes to open a clinic in his hometown. A group of friends gathers in Damascus, talking about ways to rebuild their city's markets and schools. These dreams are seeds of hope, planted in the hearts of Syrians. The work of rebuilding Syria is already beginning. In villages and cities, people are repairing homes, clearing rubble, and reopening schools. It is not easy. The scars of war are deep. Many buildings remain damaged, and resources are scarce. But the determination of the Syrian people is stronger than these challenges. One of the biggest dreams is for peace. Syrians long for a time when children can play in the streets without fear. They want to see families reunited, neighbors helping one another, and communities thriving. Peace is more than the absence of war. It is the presence of understanding, compassion, and hope. Rebuilding trust is part of this dream. Years of conflict have created divisions, but many Syrians are working to heal these wounds. They believe that unity is the only way forward. Imagine a group of people from different backgrounds sitting together. They share tea, stories, and laughter. They talk about the future, about how they can work together to rebuild their land. These small moments are where change begins. Young people play a key role in shaping Syria's tomorrow. They are full of ideas and energy, eager to create a better future. Some dream of becoming engineers to rebuild the country's infrastructure. Others want to be artists, using their work to inspire hope. Many want to be leaders, guiding Syria toward peace and prosperity. Education is at the heart of these dreams. In schools across Syria, children are learning to read, write, and think critically. Teachers are inspiring them to imagine a world beyond conflict. For many, education is a symbol of resilience. It is a way to ensure that Syria's future generations have the tools they need to succeed. The people of Syria also dream of preserving their culture. Artists are painting murals on the walls of cities, showing images of unity and hope. Musicians are playing traditional songs, blending them with modern sounds. Writers are telling stories of resilience, ensuring that the history and spirit of Syria are not forgotten. Culture is a bridge between the past and the future, connecting generations through shared traditions. Technology is another source of hope. Young Syrians are learning skills in coding, engineering, and science. They see technology as a way to rebuild and innovate. New businesses are starting, creating jobs and opportunities. These efforts are small now, but they are growing. They are proof that even in difficult times, creativity and progress can flourish. The natural beauty of Syria is also part of its dreams. Farmers are returning to their fields, planting olive trees and wheat. Communities are cleaning rivers and rebuilding terraces. They are caring for the land, knowing it is the foundation of their future. The green hills, the desert sands, and the flowing rivers hold the promise of renewal. Syrians abroad also carry dreams for their homeland. Many have left, but they have not forgotten. They send money, ideas, and support to help those still in Syria. Some dream of returning one day, of walking through the streets of Damascus, Aleppo, or Homs again. They hope to help rebuild the places they once called home. The journey ahead will not be easy. Rebuilding takes time, patience, and effort. But the spirit of the Syrian people is strong. They have faced challenges before and overcome them. They believe that together they can create a Syria where everyone has a chance to thrive. One of the most beautiful aspects of this dream is its inclusiveness. Syrians understand that their strength lies in their diversity. Arabs, Kurds, Armenians, and others are working side by side, united by a shared vision. They know that a united Syria is stronger than a divided one. Imagine a bustling market in the future. Merchants sell fresh fruits and spices. Children run through the streets, laughing. A baker offers warm bread to a customer, their faces lit with smiles. The air is filled with the sound of music and the scent of jasmine. This is the Syria that people dream of, a place full of life, laughter, and love. As the sun rises over Syria each day, it brings new hope. Each morning is a chance to take another step forward, to rebuild what was lost, and to create something even stronger. The road ahead is long, but it is filled with possibilities. Syria's story is not over. It is still being written, page by page, by the hands of its people. Each act of kindness, each effort to rebuild, and each dream brings them closer to a brighter tomorrow. To the people of Syria, their homeland is more than a place. It is a part of who they are. It is their past, their present, and their future. It is a land of ancient history, vibrant culture, and endless possibilities. As the chapter of war closes, a new chapter begins. This is a chapter of resilience, unity, and hope. It is a story of people who refuse to give up, who believe in the power of dreams.